So let's give some hellos. So we have got Ryan. Hello to Ryan. Audi 12,300. Or no, Audi 123000. Hello to you again. There's lots of names that I actually recognise here. Hello to Sammy. Hello to Reza. We've got Chumps 52. We've also got the Dude 22. So thank you all for joining us at this impromptu time of day. It wasn't planned. I know a lot of people in the United States are in bed. I know a lot of people in the UK that watch me are at work, but for those of you who are able to watch, I'm really very grateful. Just another hello to Jesper K. Thank you again for joining us for this live stream. I really do appreciate it. And yes, it is Shout Out Friday. And one last shout out, and then I'm going to move on to the cameras to Lars in Tech. Thank you very much for joining us, Lars in Tech. I really do appreciate it. So let's keep the chat clean and you won't get flagged. I will warn you, if you put anything crappy in the live chat, then you will get flagged. Big hello to Jamie. That's the last hello. And now I'm going to move on to show you the cameras. Now I unboxed this camera getting on for about a week, maybe a week and a half ago. This is the Panasonic Lumix DMC G7. That's its official title. Most of us will refer to it as the Panasonic G7. It's a micro four thirds camera. The great thing about this new release is that it now captures 4K video, and that is really good at this price point. It's coming in at a really good price point. You can buy it body only, you can buy it in various kits. The one I've got here has got a 14 to 42mm kit lens, which when I had my Panasonic G6, which recorded 1080p video, I never really swapped out. I'm more or less stuck to the kit lens all the time. So this is a really good package, and the reason this is exciting is because to get 4K in a micro four thirds camera from Panasonic prior to this model, we had to look at the Panasonic GH4. Now the Panasonic GH4 is their top of the range camera, and this records also 4K video. I've got it with a non-kit lens on here. I've got it with, let me just deal with this on the chat. So we're going to say goodbye to the Dude 22 because of the type of comments that you're putting in the chat. Can't put up with it, but here we go. Let's go back to the camera. The Panasonic GH4, so it offers up pretty much the same specifications as the G7 with a couple of exceptions. The Panasonic GH4 obviously is a lot more expensive, same resolution sensor. It offers up a couple of different video codecs, also records in a very high bit rate when you're recording in 1080p. And also it allows you a few more slow motion options. So there's a few more options on here. But when you're looking at 4K video footage, and if you aren't going to do color grading, then these both offer up 4K video capture at 100 megabits per second. So for all intents and purposes, if you're recording 1080p 60 frames per second, 1080p 30 frames per second, or 4K, then they're both going to perform pretty much the same. If you want a flatter sort of video so that you can color grade it, then this offers you various S-Log features that I personally have never used because I use the video just as it comes out of the camera. So this is a really good option. Now, not only does it offer up a micro four thirds sensor, but it's also got a microphone input, as has the GH4, so we can add a microphone in here. The other option that is missing, that I forgot to mention, is on the Panasonic GH4 we've got a headphone output as well, so you can monitor your audio. This, as far as I can remember, does not have a headphone output, so it's just purely the microphone input. We've also got on the side here a remote input HDMI or micro HDMI and micro USB, and we've got a fully articulating screen, so we can articulate this screen round and have it front facing to record us. We can mount something like a Rode video mic on top and then plug it into the side, or indeed we can use something like a lapel microphone. Now this is just such a good camera for the money to get 4K video footage. Now I haven't published a video comparison yet showing the two videos side by side, and I don't really intend to, because this is really sort of a little additional production camera for me. But I've looked at the 4K video side by side. In fact, you will see some 4K video from this in my Pimp My G7 video, and the 4K video is absolutely fantastic, every bit as good as the GH4 4K video. If I swap the lens over, so I've got better optics on this, it matches it basically. So the Panasonic G7 is really very, very good indeed. So that's my sort of brief overview of the camera. I'm going to take some questions now, so if you've got any questions about the Panasonic G7 or indeed the GH4, then you can ask them now. And let's just get through to the questions here. So let's scroll up. So we've got a question from Lars in Tech. So Lars in Tech is asking, Canon or Nikon for video? Well, Canon and Nikon make fantastic cameras. I'm not going to slate them here at all. That's not the way I do things. They make great video quality. For the most part, they only record in 1080p. There are, I think, 1 or 2 Canon models that record in 4K. Nikon do one of their compacts which records in 4K 15 frames per second, but for the most part their DSLRs actually record 1080p. Either are going to do you absolutely fine. However, I've been really impressed with the GH4 and now of course the G7 with regards to the 4K capabilities on this camera. Yes, it's got a smaller sensor than Nikon and Canon DSLRs, but it still produces fantastic quality video. So I would definitely look at the Panasonic range, but if you want definitely a Canon or a Nikon, then I would say if you've got all lenses already, obviously buy the body that you've got lenses for. If you're starting fresh, absolutely either will do. If I had a preference as to like the video, how the video looks, I do like how Canon video sort of looks on the screen as it comes out of the camera without grading in comparison to Nikon video. So, I hope that answers your question. What else have we got? Lewis Theo says only 8 watching. Yeah, that's because of the time of day. I'm just doing an impromptu stream just to let you know that I am obviously here and I am broadcasting. So let's go back up in the chat. I saw another question. This comes from Chumps52, who I think isn't in the chat anymore, but Chumps52 asks, what do I think of the new Canon camera with 4 million ISO? Now this is a really strange looking camera. I can't even remember the model number, but it's like a square format, little sort of cube type camera. And how they've achieved this is by keeping a nice size sensor inside, but reducing the number of pixels on that sensor, so the pixels are actually bigger, so they gather more light, and that allows them to achieve this ridiculously high 4 million ISO. And it's going to be a very niche market for this type of camera, maybe for people doing astrophotography or astrovideography, for people capturing obviously things in very, very poor lighting conditions. Then something like this is going to be absolutely fantastic. I'm not sure whether it's really aimed towards photography purely because of the low megapixel count, but I'm sure it could be used for that. But certainly for low light video, wow, this thing could probably see in the dark. Again, it's going to be very niche to who actually purchases a camera like that, and it's some ridiculous price. I can't remember what price it was, but it was thousands and thousands of dollars or pounds. So, but interesting that they're taking that sort of that sort of angle at things and trying something different. You know, Canon have been quite quiet in trying to push the envelope when it comes to video capture with their cameras. They haven't really ventured into 4K that much yet, apart from their XC20, which people were saying is very a convoluted sort of camera to use, not very ergonomic. A lot of people didn't like it. I haven't handled one myself, but hopefully Canon will start trying new things, you know, and start pushing this 4K as well. So, Jesper asks, thoughts on EVF versus optical. And now, EVF versus optical, so electric viewfinder or electronic viewfinder versus an optical viewfinder. I think if you go back probably 6 months to a year, EVFs weren't that fantastic. If you fast forward to today, then EVFs are fantastic. They really are good. They've got greater refresh rates in them, nice high resolutions, and of course you get to see what you're taking the photo of or the video according to your exposure, compensation, etc., white balance. You get to see that before you take it, whereas optical, you're seeing what the eye is seeing, and the resulting photo or video is dependent upon your settings. I've also got the Fuji X100T, which does a hybrid viewfinder, which gives you the best of both worlds. So it gives you optical, but with the sort of EVF overlay in it. So that's the best of both worlds. If I had to choose one, I would probably choose a really good EVF. So let's have a look through the chat again. Some brilliant questions. I don't normally respond to comments like this because it's not worth it, but Aaron Smith is saying light has a T in it. Yes, I'm aware of that. I am English, and the fact he doesn't get any views anyway, well, I think 61 million views on the channel I'm really happy about, just to address that. And I think that overall the channel interaction I'm really pleased with. When I hit 100k subscribers, it took a long time, but it was a natural progression. And I would much rather have a channel where I've got sort of interaction with viewers, like everyone who's joined me today, which I'm really, really grateful for, and have that steady sort of growth pattern on the channel. And I just love sharing my views about technology, gadgets, and of course the luxury lifestyle channel. I love sharing my content over there as well. And it's just a fantastic platform. I absolutely love YouTube. I'm just very grateful and very humbled to everyone who actually watches. So thank you for that. Right, what else have we got? We're getting lots of comments here now. $30,000, I think, from Michael. That's referring to the Canon camera that's just been released. Geeton says it's the XC10, not the 20. Yes, you are probably right. Well, in fact, you are right. I remember now. And we've got another question from Chumps52. So we move over from just talking about the two cameras to general Q&A now. So if you've got any questions at all, leave them in the comments. Chumps52 says, thanks for asking. Do you game? And if so, what games do you play and on what PC console? Well, I don't really game other than sort of what I would call as sort of leisure gaming or social gaming on my iPhone. I do a lot of gaming on that. The one game that I have recently downloaded though on the Xbox One is World of Tanks. Fantastic game, really enjoying it. And I would urge all of you, if you haven't tried that and you have got an Xbox One, to actually check it out. The reason I don't game that often, I think, is purely because of my schedule. And I put so much into creating content both for YouTube. I also run my commercial video business as well, which takes up a lot of my time, that you know, I don't get time to sit down and game. And when I do sit down for relaxation, it's normally with family and we normally watch a movie. So that's normally how we spend our sort of entertainment time, other than eating out, of course. Brilliant question. Thank you very much for that. Somebody saying that they live in Norway. Hello to Lars in Tech in Norway. Vortex is asking, hey Dave, do you have to spend... Oh no, hey Dave, do you think we should spend a lot of money on cameras when we can just use our phones to take pictures and videos? That is a very good question. Now, quite a lot of the time I get asked sort of, what should I buy to start YouTube? You know, what camera should I buy? And my normal response is, in fact, or you don't need to spend the money to just start doing YouTube videos, for example. And if you've got a smartphone nowadays, they capture good 1080p video, and in some cases 4K video. So why spend the money when you've got something there that produces good quality video? Now, of course, if it's for personal use, then that's up to you. It's really dependent upon the quality that you want. Certainly most smartphones nowadays capture brilliant video, brilliant photos, good enough, in fact, to share on social networks, and good enough for your own enjoyment as well. It's only when you become a publisher and you want to improve that quality that you look to things like this. You know, you want something that you can maybe add an external microphone to, because smartphone cameras do not capture great audio. So when you're a content producer and you start getting addicted to sharing content on the likes of YouTube, then you look to something like this. And then the same applies to photography. If you're happy with your smartphone photos, but you're really interested in pushing yourself and pushing your creativity, and you want something with a different lens, or a different, with a different focal length, or better in low light, for example, then that's when you start looking at maybe investing in other equipment. But it is a really good question. It's certainly not essential to spend money to take photos and video when smartphones are really very good indeed. Mechabolic asks, are you getting the A7R2 into review? If so, with which lenses? Unfortunately, I'm not. Sony have not sent me any review product for quite a while now. They used to. If they do want to send me one in, I would love to actually test it. Or in fact, I've got quite a few retail contacts in the camera world, so I might well try and get hold of one. So, but not planned at the moment. Next question is, got so many questions. So, Akash Rora, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Would you buy a Red Dragon if you had the money? Or are you cool with your current quality? What do you think of the new 8K camera they launched? It's 2 AM here, by the way. Well, thank you very much for joining me at 2 AM. I really do appreciate it. I would love, if money was no object, I would love to buy a Red Dragon camera, or indeed any Red camera. I would really just thoroughly enjoy creating something that has got so much detail in it. But, and here's the big but, well actually there's two big buts. One, I can't afford it. I would not have the funds to be able to put into something like that. If I could, then I would. And two, even with my commercial videos that I do, none of my clients would really be able to share that quality. Most of the content I create, even from a commercial aspect, is normally shared online. So if I'm sharing online and uploading to something like YouTube or Vimeo, which some of my commercial clients use, then even that wouldn't show the quality that the Red is actually capable of delivering. And I'm more than happy with the 4K quality that GH4 produces at the moment. But come next year, or the end of this year hopefully, when the GH5 comes out, if it offers something better, a higher bit rate maybe they're going to put a higher resolution sensor in, maybe they're going to do something fantastic and give us a whole new format, who knows. When that comes, I might want to upgrade to that, but it's all about keeping it sort of real and comparative to the actual content that you're sharing. I hope that makes sense. But brilliant question. Audi 123000, which camera would you buy if money wasn't a problem? I think I sort of just answered that. I would probably buy one of the Red cameras, or possibly, or I know they haven't got fantastic reviews. I've always been very curious about the Blackmagic range of cameras, their Ursa cameras. Not saying that would be the best camera to buy, but it would certainly be something I would consider. So, so that's sort of something I would maybe look into as well. Ryan Barkley, a non-camera related question. Thanks very much, Ryan. Are fingerprint scanners safer than passwords? I really don't know the technical or scientific answer to that. I would say that fingerprint scanners were introduced into smartphones purely because it makes it easier to secure a device It also encourages people that would have no password on the device to actually have some sort of security there. And I would say it really comes down to what sort of password you're using. Now, I use a password generator, which gives me uppercase, lowercase, numerals, symbols, all mixed up, which is probably very hard to actually break, you know, to actually circumvent. But a fingerprint, I would say, probably is more secure. But it really depends. It really depends on the device, and having some security there is obviously better than none. I've got no scientific answer. I think a combination of the both is fantastic, or even iris recognition. Definitely not face recognition, because that can be cheated by holding up a photo, but maybe iris recognition is more secure than a fingerprint. I really do not know, but I just love the fact that manufacturers are pushing the technology, and we're seeing fingerprint scanners in so many more devices, and fingerprint scanners that work reliably as well. If you go back a year or two, they didn't work very reliably. Question from Akash again. OnePlus 2 impressions, Moto X3, Moto G. OnePlus 2. Right, I had the OnePlus 1, fantastic smartphone. The OnePlus 1 had great specifications. I think the OnePlus 2, they could have done more than they have. It's still got good specifications, but I think they could have pushed it a lot more and given us a real flagship killer. The new Moto X, really looking good. They've got 3 different phones that they just released. The Moto G, which you asked about, I'll come to that in a short while. The Moto X Play, and then there's the Style. I'm going to get a Play myself to actually have a look at. And the Moto X Play, I think, is the mid-range, and that looks really good. Obviously not as high specified as the new Moto X, but price point wise, I don't really use Android handsets as a daily smartphone. I use my iPhone 6, so something that I will purchase in is that mid-tier sort of smartphone that they've launched. I think Motorola have done a fantastic job at all 3 of these smartphones. The fact that you can customize them all, really good. The screens, from what I've seen on videos where people have used them so far, again, look really good. I'm expecting a Moto G 3rd generation in. They're just trying to send me one to do my unboxing and obviously a review of. The Moto G looks brilliant value for money. Not so much the 8GB version, because it's only got 1GB of RAM, but certainly the 16GB version with 2GB of RAM looks like to be a very, very good choice indeed. So that would be my choice out of the 2. Great price points as well. Next question. Jesper K. Have you ever thought about getting into music? Because I personally DJ and videography in my free time, and I can't decide which one I like more. Sorry for my poor English. Your English is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I don't personally do DJing. I haven't really got into music. I've dabbled with some music creation tools because of the technology and the sort of geeky aspect of them. I wish I could. I really do wish I could play an instrument, or I wish I could do mixing with mixing decks, because I've seen people do it and it's just mesmerising when I see it. You can't decide which one to do. Maybe mix the 2 together. You know, do your DJing and make videos about your journey through mixing and different technology that you're using. So sort of combine the 2, or create videos that would give some visual experience to accompany your music. I think that's a brilliant idea. All of the chat just jumped. So we're going to do a few more questions. Gayton LV, what do you think of the MetaBones Speed Booster? Do you think it's worth it? MetaBones have lately released new firmware allowing AF with Canon lenses. Will I try it someday? I did approach MetaBones to send me one because I would love to try a Speed Booster on my GH4 with some Canon glass on the front. I did notice they just released that new one that does AF as well with Canon lenses. I would absolutely love to try them. They are the premier, or the best of the best when it comes to sort of lens adapters, especially when you're looking at micro four thirds. So yes, I will try it someday. Mr. Danny 321. Dave, Submariner 2-tone blue dial or the Cartier Caliber diver in steel? Your opinion would be much appreciated. The Cartier Caliber diver, we're talking about watches now. that I had for, I think I had it for about a week, was a really gorgeous watch. I wasn't convinced by the automatic movement inside. After actually creating my video, I did notice some noise coming from the watch when you moved it, as though like the rotors were moving, which I didn't like. The build quality was nice, but if I had to choose over the two, I would definitely choose the Submariner two-tone blue dial, without a doubt. Brilliant question. Of course, even though I've said that, it's a very personal choice when you're choosing a timepiece. That's just what I'd choose. You know, you've got to think what would suit your style as well. But I would choose Rolex. Ryan Barkley, do you like iMovie? Yep, it's okay. I started off using iMovie before I moved on to using a mixture of Adobe Premiere Pro and Final Cut Pro 10. iMovie is absolutely fine. I only switched because I just wanted some more powerful editing features, really. You know, but it does a brilliant job. Aaron Smith, how many credit cards did you use to buy your Rolex Submariner watch? None. Hi-Fi Tech 01, can you do a giveaway? I did a giveaway a while back, and I have got another one planned. I'm looking over there in the studio, and I've got a product behind my other monitor over there, which I am planning on doing a giveaway. Thanks for asking. Mechabolic is saying, thanks for answering my question. With all these super high ISO cameras coming out, could you think of any situations where you'd need a ridiculous ISO? Well, yeah, for like astro videography, really, for when you're doing something that's in complete darkness. For the best sort of astrology experience, you need to go where you haven't got any light pollution, so it is really dark. So I'd think something like that would be ideal. Aaron Smith, I think this is a tongue-in-cheek question, but I'm going to answer it anyway. Are you going to hand your CV into a model agency after filming that recent luxury lifestyle video? That is a really cool question. If you don't know what I'm referring to, if you haven't checked out my luxury lifestyle channel, I've been really getting into the Burberry brand recently, so much so that I'm a bit of an addict about it. And I did a video over on the other channel where I was wearing some Burberry clothes, and I could never make a model. I don't think I've got the looks to be a model, but I just thoroughly enjoy what I do on the other channel. So the answer is probably no, because I couldn't do it, but I just thoroughly enjoy making the videos. Lewis Bird, love your videos. Thank you very much, Lewis. I really do appreciate it. Akash asks, what mic am I using now? It's not as good as in my videos. I had so many technical issues when I was setting up the stream that I ended up using the built-in microphone on my MacBook Pro. So that's why you're getting not great audio quality. The video quality should be fine because I'm using a really good Brother Full HD 1080p camera, which has got a nice wide-angle lens on it as well. Vortex, Dave, if you had a choice to pick just one mobile phone brand, which will you get? Microsoft, Apple, Android, and why? Now, don't hate me for this. I like lots of different brands, but my mobile phone of choice is the Apple iPhone 6. So I would choose Apple personally. That doesn't mean that all other phones are rubbish, not by any means. I've reviewed some fantastic smartphones this year. Excuse me, my voice is going. The LG G4, for example, wow, what a camera on that. But I live within the Apple ecosystem, and I find that the iPhone 6 just works well for me. So that's what I would personally choose. We're going to do a few more questions, and then I am going to end the stream, purely because my voice is going. Phil Thomas, not tech related, but will you ever bring a Tissot watch in for review? Yes, I will. I did briefly have a Tissot dive watch in, but unfortunately the date was not aligned, so I sent it back and they didn't send me another one. I do plan on getting hold of a Tissot watch at some stage, and that video will most likely be over on the Luxury Lifestyle channel, but yes, the answer is yes to that. Chumps52, do you enjoy making Geekanoids or Luxury Lifestyle videos more? I like them both equally, to be honest. I just like sharing content. Aaron Smith, how poor is your credit score? I'm not answering that because that is private, but it is probably absolutely fine. Aaron Smith, is that damp on your ceiling above you? And the answer to that is no. I think it's some just discoloration in the lighting in the room. But we did have a problem. I will tell you this. We did have a problem on that ceiling, but I did repaint it. So, Ryan Barkley, do you think the OnePlus 2 will drop the invite system if there is a drop in sales? No, I don't think they will. I think they're just fixated on this invitation system. And I think, in all honesty, I think it's a stupid system. I really do wish they'd just launch the phone and tell people how long they've got to wait for delivery. If there's not enough stock, it'll create more demand anyway. It's very frustrating, the invite system. Ryan Darcy, what's the best budget camera under £500? If you're looking for interchangeable lens, I would go Panasonic G6. That would probably be the best you can get for under 500. Ashton asks, what is better, Beats Solo 2 or Solo 2 wireless? In fact, the audio quality on them from memory is probably pretty much the same. If you need wireless, you're going to have to go for the wireless option. Aaron Smith, how much do you make per year? That's private. I'm not going to answer that. Jordan Ash, good morning, Jordan. Hello, Jordan. Thanks for joining us. I feel really bad when somebody joins late on in the video because I'm going to end in about 4 minutes. I'm really sorry, Jordan, but thank you for joining us. In fact, just for you, I'll try and keep going a little bit longer. Dwayne Ogle asks, have you tried the B&O H8 headphones yet? No, but I did request them, and I've tried B&O headphones before. In fact, I was blown away by the quality, so I hope that I get some B&O H8s in sometime. What else have we got? Aaron Smith is asking just silly questions, so I am going to remove some questions. If you ask questions I'm not prepared to answer, then it's sort of wasting space in the chat. So anyway, Gayton LV, what watch, brand or model would you recommend to someone who has never owned one before, sub 400? I would really look at Tito. That's a really good choice. Also Squale, Squale. Squale makes some amazing watches. I'm sure you'd find one of those for under 400 or just about that price. The reason I said Squale as well is they've got some history and some heritage behind them when it comes to watchmaking. So I would look at those two brands. Aaron Smith, I know I just deleted one of your silly questions, but would you, this makes me laugh, so I will answer this one. Would you ever consider seasonal work as a Santa Claus in a shopping centre? I love that red nose that you get in the winter, and it would suit the job perfectly. Ah dear, some people. But I will actually answer that. If they were paying well enough, then yeah, I probably would, because I could bring a lot of joy to children. You know, giving them presents. You know, the whole experience of Christmas is just dreamlike when you're a child. So yeah, I would. If they paid me to do it, then definitely I would. Or in fact, if it was for a charity sort of event, I'd probably do it for nothing. And the red nose is rosacea, if you really need to know that. So it's a medical condition. Gadgetech, hi Dave, what network would you recommend for YouTube? I actually belong to Base 79. They are part of the Rightster group. Absolutely fantastic. And they are very responsive, very proactive in their support for creators. So that would be my recommendation. Logan Lindsay says, love all your vids, keep up all the hard work. Thank you very much. Oh, sometimes the chat just goes crazy. So Jordan Ash, Jordan, your question: what do you expect to see in the iPhone 6s? S will stand for speed, so we're going to get a bump up in speed. I would expect to see more RAM. I would expect to see Force Touch on the screen. I think the form factor will stay pretty much the same. At BlueRam 1500, bonjour from France. Bonjour. I really enjoy your videos with Dave Cullen. Do you plan on collaborating again soon? We have talked about that. Sam Hodge asks, what inspired you to get into YouTube? Basically, I was a graphic designer, and the whole team within that graphic design environment would come to me for tech advice. I would give them it, and then I wanted to share that, so I started writing about technology. I wrote for the likes of CNET and MacNN, and for my own website as well. But I did struggle with repetitive strain injuries, so typing wasn't the best. And at the same time, I thought that being able to visually show people how technology worked or didn't work, whether it was worth spending their money on a piece of tech, was the way to go. So I started doing YouTube videos, and I got such a good response that the rest is history, really. You know, I just love creating content. But that's what got me inspired to get into YouTube, was just sort of the sharing of content and the interaction. Just going to take a couple more questions because my voice is really going. Carp Tiberu says, hey Dave, nice to see you live again. Any recommendations in choosing a £100 watch? That's really difficult because that's quite a low price point. I'd probably look for a second-hand Tissot, something like that, or possibly, and this is going to be a curveball of a recommendation, but I really like that Swatch System 51, the blue that I recently reviewed. They also do one with a leather strap, and that would be really cool to get in. But it's an automatic watch, and that would come in around about your price point. So I'd maybe look at that. If you want something that's a little bit better build quality, not primarily made of plastic, then look at the second-hand market. Maybe, like I said, a second-hand Tissot. Frugal Tech. Good morning to you, Bruce. What are my thoughts on bridge cameras? Well, Bruce, you know that I just recently got the Panasonic G7, and I've also recently covered the Sony RX10 Mark II. I've also covered the Panasonic camera that you personally use, and I think that bridge cameras are fantastic for a couple of reasons. One is, as I mentioned earlier in this broadcast, people will buy a Panasonic G7, for example, interchangeable lens. It comes with a great kit lens, and some people might buy it with the intention of changing out lenses. The whole time I had my Panasonic G6, I didn't swap out the kit lens. I can't remember if I did once, maybe, to take a photo, but the kit lens lived on it. So what's the point of having an interchangeable lens camera if you're not going to change lenses? The Sony RX10 Mark II that I just covered on the channel, and in fact the Panasonic, I think it's the FZ1000 if I've got the model number correct, fantastic quality cameras. And I think the reason you buy a bridge camera is because you're getting a lens that is actually optimized for the sensor, and they work fantastically well. I think of primary concern when you're looking at bridge cameras is make sure you're getting a microphone input, and make sure you're getting a focal length range that you're going to be able to use. So make sure it either goes wide enough or zooms in far enough, because you're stuck with that lens. And I would also really recommend putting some sort of protection filter on the front of the lens, because you can't buy a new lens. If you damage it, you've got to send the whole camera off to be repaired. But I think they're fantastic. They've really come on a long way. Somebody has asked on whether you'll be able to watch the video later, and it all jumped again. Here we go, Chumps52. Will this video be able to rewatch later on the channel? Yes, it should be, if the technology works. Akash, I have a Casio Ediface for about $100 and my dad has a Rolex. Honestly, I think mine looks better. Well, I'm glad you said that, because it really does depend on your personal taste. And I love Casio Ediface watches. I've had one previously, and I think I've still got it actually. And if you like a watch, then enjoy what you've got. You know, there's nothing wrong with it at all. I'm not a brand snob at all. I think Casio makes some fantastic watches. In fact, the Casio G-Shock range, really brilliant. Ashtan asks, what is the best edit software to begin YouTube? I would say iMovie. Mr. Kudus Udin, Dave, I love all your videos. Keep up the good work. Thank you very, very much. Ryan, would you make another PC build? Yes, I would, if I can get the parts together. And I'm going to take one more question. No, I'll do two more questions. Here we go. Two more questions. The first one is from Mr. Kudus Udin. Is YouTube your job? YouTube is round about 60 to 70% of my working time. It's not my only job. I do in fact also run a commercial video business, and I run one other business which nobody knows about on YouTube. So, but YouTube takes up the most of my time. And then the last question is from Mr. Danny. Where's it gone? Here we go. Mr. Danny G321. Thanks for your reply, mate. When can we expect to see the next watch review? So the next watch review is going to be, I think, in about 2 to 3 weeks' time. It is an Omega watch, and it's going to be over on the Luxury Lifestyle channel. So about 2 or 3 weeks' time. I've got a couple of fashion-orientated videos coming out first, and then that watch video as well. And I'll do one more. One more question. Oh, they're just silly questions, the rest of them. Oh, here we go. Here's a good question. NME Godlike asks, upgraded to Windows 10 yet, Dave? Yes, I have. I've got an HP Spectre laptop. It's sitting over there, and I upgraded it to the sort of beta builds of Windows 10 where I was trialing it. The actual launch version of Windows 10 from just the other day, I have installed on it. The install went absolutely fine, and I think it is a really good operating system. In fact, far better than I expected, and I'm going to try and use it a lot more because I'm so used to using Mac OS 10 that I sort of shy away from other sort of computer platforms, but I will be using Windows 10 a lot more because I think I need to have that experience, and I enjoyed looking at it anyway. I think they've done a really good job of it. So that's it for this live broadcast. Went on a little bit longer than I intended, but thoroughly enjoyed chatting to you all. Thank you for the great questions. To all of you who asked good questions, I really do appreciate it, and I just love interacting. So I'll try and do this a lot more frequently. If you enjoyed this broadcast, despite the technical issues right at the beginning, then you know, please do leave me some comments on the video after I've ended the broadcast. Hit me up on Twitter as well, @Geekanoids, and let me know what you thought of the broadcast as well. I love chatting to you all. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend, because we're almost at the weekend now. And of course, I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye for now.